Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a great show for you today. Boy, are we living in some crazy times, and there's a ton of challenges to staying on the air, but we are certainly glad to be on the air. We're going to start with a story about impeachment. Yes, they voted to impeach Donald Trump for the second time yesterday, but the impeachment of Donald Trump this time around is even broader in some sense, even though they only have one specific charge, I guess insurrection. We'll talk about that. But Donald Trump appears to be being impeached in the public as well, as far as businesses and other entities, other political figures outside of the actual impeachment. So we're going to get into that. And then Nancy Pelosi, I'm calling her now the hammer of God. I mean, this woman thinks that she is God incarnate here on earth, and she is hammering down on her own members, not only telling them what they can say and can't say on the floor, like you can't say mother, father, brother, sister, any gender pronouns, that kind of thing. But now she's going to make her members walk through metal detectors like they're suspects. And if they don't, she's going to fine them $5,000 to $10,000 every time they don't comply. So she is the hammer of God, and we'll talk about that. But before we go any further, I always have to mention our sponsor. You know, people who, as I tell you all the time, not everybody can be a fighter, but people can support those in the fight. So when you look at programs like John Martin Talks and other programs that are maybe right of center, I'm not sure what you want to call us, but certainly alternatives to the mainstream media, you got to support those people in the fight. So I'm very grateful to our sponsors, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise BDU, otherwise known as Big Daddy Unlimited. If you want to see our sponsors, look above the show, no matter when or where you're watching it, and we're going to expand more and more places for us to watch it, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But look above the video, scroll down, and you'll see a sponsorship link, BDU, Big Daddy Unlimited. Click on that. They literally are your Second Amendment headquarters, because not only do you get factory direct pricing on guns and ammunition, yeah, I said guns and ammunition shipped directly to your door, but thousands of other items from tactical gear to swag, anything that has to do with your Second Amendment. And I call them your headquarters because they are becoming now the defenders of choice to actually defend your Second Amendment rights. So check it out, Big Daddy Unlimited. We also have patriotthreads.org, apparel with a purpose. Go to their site, patriotthreads.org. Remember the promo code JMT, John Martin Talks, but JMT. You'll get 20% off of any of their gear there, and they have all kinds of patriotic apparel there, so check it out. Recoil TV. We are now on Recoil TV on YouTube. We're on 2 YouTube channels. We have John Martin Talks. A lot of you are watching live on that. Remember that on YouTube, you watch it live, but then the video is reposted several hours later. But Recoil TV is also all about the Second Amendment. If you want to know what the latest products are, how to use them, any information about weaponry and basically how to use it, check out Recoil TV on YouTube. And we're honored to have a channel. Our shows are on there, archived every day. But I want to read this statement. And let me just say, if you're tuning, of course, you wouldn't see this if you were tuning in to America's Voice News, which is another great alternative to the mainstream media. America's Voice News. You can download free apps on your Android, your iPhone, while you still can. They're on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Channel 219, Dish Network, and the Pluto channel. And we are rebroadcast along that streaming service. We used to be on their Facebook site. We were yesterday and had a ton of views and almost 1,000 comments. But they have made a decision, America's Voice News, not to post anything, streaming programs on their Facebook channel. It's temporary, but the main reason is they're focusing on their TV network. And I can't blame them for that, because they feel like that they have more control over that, because no one controls Facebook apparently now, except maybe Mark Zuckerberg and whoever the Chinese folks that he's hired to basically monitor us. But let me read this statement here, because it'll tell you what we're up against, because a lot of programs are up against the same thing. But I want to tell you how you can continue to watch John Martin Talks through all these trials and tribulations. Due to the move by big tech to deplatform conservative free speech, we will be moving John Martin Talks to a new secure platform so that we can continue to broadcast. So we're working on creating our own platform through Big Daddy Unlimited and Recoil TV. Please download the Recoil TV app found in the link below. So the link that we're the description of the show. Right now, it's available on the Apple Store and Google Play Store. That's the Recoil TV app. In addition, you can go, and this is very important, you can go directly to johnmartintalks.tv. That's johnmartintalks.tv to see all episodes and to continue watching my show. And we are determined to be your voice of freedom in all this tyranny that's out there right now. So remember, www.johnmartintalks.tv. Please share that with your friends and family. All right, let's get into the stories. This is from USA Today. Not just the House, from golf course pros to Central Park carousel, President Donald Trump is rebuffed, according to USA Today. Now, Donald Trump, 45, I guess he's not, it doesn't look like he's going to make it to another term this time around. This picture right here, I got off of a slide of people that were actually at the Trump rally in front of the White House on January 6th. And I think that lovely lady represents the love that actually is a Donald Trump event, not what we saw crashing into the Capitol the other day. And everybody that I know has condemned that violence. In fact, the president came out. If you haven't seen it, it's on the White House Twitter account. There is a separate Twitter account. Of course, Donald Trump is banned from Twitter apparently for life. That who knows how long that'll last, or how long Twitter will last without him. But if you want to see Donald Trump's speech yesterday, he made a great video. It's on the White House Twitter account, where he roundly condemned the violence again, because he's done it already on the Capitol, and essentially said no one who supports him should be involved in any violence whatsoever. And that lovely lady looks like part of the Trump love fest to me. President Donald Trump has been impeached not only by the House of Representatives. Now, this is from USA Today. Just so you know, and we're not going to get into names right now for the most part, but 100% of the Democrats yesterday voted to impeach Donald Trump for a second time. 10 Republicans actually voted with them this time, when no Republicans had voted with them the first time. So there you go. Right now, you have a list. You can easily Google it, but Google is of the devil. You can DuckDuckGo it or whatever. Maybe we'll post it somewhere down the line. I can't post anything right now. So by the way, if you want to comment on our show, I really appreciate all the comments I get on Facebook. I get thousands of comments on Facebook. I can't answer them right now. I just can't, and you can probably figure out why. If you want to make a comment, and I still read them, I can see them all. I just can't read them. I just can't type on the computer screen. But if you want to make a comment on our show, good, bad, or whatever, and I'll respond to all of them, go to YouTube, John Martin Talks, YouTube, John Martin Talks, spell it all the way out. You can make comments on there that I can respond to. And we have a growing audience on there as well. So let me read this line again. President Donald Trump has been impeached, and not only by the House of Representatives. We'll explain that in a minute. So basically, why are they doing this? I mean, Mitch McConnell, and we gave him a hard time yesterday because it appears that he is somewhat in favor of impeaching Donald Trump for the sole reason of trying to be rid of the Trump influence on the Republican Party. Good luck, as I say, with that. So you can check out our podcast, YouTube, Recoil TV. That's probably the best way to check out our podcast. We're also archived on America's Voice News. I told you about them. But there's a need to punish Trump and anyone who supports him, work for him, whatever. They have to punish you. They want to drive a wedge between those people, the MAGA people, America First people. And I coined a new term yesterday because, you know, I had a friend of mine say they telling him to take his Trump signs down. He's trying to figure out to make a sign. And I told him, well, why don't we come up with Make America First Again? Kind of combine all of that, because that basically is what we're going to need to do after even a couple of days of, God help us, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as joint presidents. And that's what it looks like. But they want to drive a wedge between you, the MAGA hat people, the America First people, you dregs of society, you basket full of deplorables. They want to drive a wedge between you and Donald Trump. I understand why they want to do that. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. But is impeaching Donald Trump going to accomplish that mission? I think it's just the opposite. And I'll get into that more in detail. I got to tell you a very quick story. I got a buddy of mine. I've talked about him on the show before. I'll let him remain anonymous. He knows who he is. He watches all the time. Good morning, sir. Howdy, how are you? But he was telling me he lives a bit south of me here in Florida. We're old fishing buddies. And he is a big time Donald Trump supporter. And he is wearing his MAGA hat. He's got multiple different types of Trump hats. And he's always got one on. And he told me yesterday that he went into a restaurant down in South Florida and to eat. And he wears the hat in there. And he saw a couple of servicemen at a table. So he went up to the cashier when he was ready to check out and said, I want to pay for those guys' meal. And he did. And which is very commendable. People do that. But then this is where it really gets interesting. He went to pay for his own meal. And the lady said, oh, that's been taken care of. And he said, by who? She said, by the owner of the restaurant. The owner of the restaurant loves your hat. And he said there is no charge for a meal for anybody who loves President Trump. I just thought that was really interesting. So, you know, there are a lot of people that still love our president. And I don't think impeaching him is going to do anything to harm that. Do you? Tell me if you disagree. All right, let's move along. The storming of the Capitol last week by a mob. Now, this is the language of USA Today. Just want to make sure you understand it. The storming of the Capitol last week by a mob, egged on by the president, has brought a rapid judgment not only from the lawmakers whose lives were threatened on that violent day, but also from other Americans who bore witness. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I guess owners of these businesses. The nation's broader culture, from business leaders and bankers to coaches and golf pros and social media platforms, has delivered an unprecedented series of rebukes, talking about to President Trump as well. This term, egged on by the president, I guess that's basically the crux of this impeachment process, that Donald Trump incited violence. First of all, like I say, go and look at the White House Twitter account, not Donald Trump's, and listen to his speech from yesterday. But go back and actually listen to Donald Trump's speech on January 6th. At no point in that speech did he incite violence. In fact, he said just the opposite. He said, go down to the Capitol peacefully, and do your patriotic duty and protest, but peacefully. I've been playing this video for the last several days, but I think it bears replaying. This is Cory Booker when he was actually running for president, old Spartacus Booker, saying on the campaign trail what he thought his supporters should do when it comes to the Capitol and members of Congress. Check it out.
And so, before I end, that's my call to action here. Please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
Go to the Capitol and get up in the face of Congress people. Now, I'm not saying that Cory Booker should be impeached for that. I'm not saying that. But go listen again to what President Trump actually said on January 6th. There is more incitement to violence, and I'm not necessarily even accusing Cory Booker of that, but if you're using the standard of language to incite violence, Cory Booker did more to incite violence to the Capitol and to members of Congress than anything Donald Trump actually said, period. And if you talk about incitement to violence, more and more evidence is coming out. I'm not absolving those that violence, including Trump supporters. And there's questions about who did what and everything else. But there were clearly people who support Donald Trump that got caught up in the mob and went on into Capitol, and they're going to be prosecuted and probably should. Okay? But the thing is, as evidence comes, this thing with the Capitol was planned out way in advance of Donald Trump's speech. It's come out now that the FBI warned both the Sergeant at Arms of the House and the Senate that there were threats to basically attack the Capitol a week before it actually happened, essentially. And the people that came there to attack the Capitol, actually now we see that they had makeshift like pipe bombs, incendiary bombs, Molotov cocktails. They had zip ties for like taking people hostage and everything. How do you incite something that was planned that well in advance? And there is a real question now, and I'm not absolving. Understand this, I am not, as a matter of fact, I'm condemning those that attacked the Capitol. I'm certainly not absolving them. But there is now a question as when did Pelosi, and for that matter, Mitch McConnell, when did they know about the threat to the Capitol, and what did they do about it? Because the Sergeant at Arms of both the House and the Senate were pre-warned by the FBI that there were credible threats to attack the Capitol. And they report, each one of them reports directly to Pelosi and McConnell. When did they know it, and what did they do about it? We know that the D.C. mayor was also told about the threat and was asked to potentially call out the National Guard or ask for it to be called out, and she said no. So there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. But Booker clearly said that more, if you want to call incitement to violence to the Capitol and members of Congress than anything Trump has ever done. But what they want to do here, these entities, they want to hurt President Trump financially. They want to beat him down. They want to stop his golf courses. They want to, shut down anything that says Donald Trump, basically. And they want to hit him in the pocketbook, which is, certainly a place that hurts people, right? But let me show you this picture. This is a picture, and it could have been anywhere, but this was a picture of a Trump swag store, so to speak, in D.C. on January 6th. Now, if you've been to anything Trump rally, you've seen this type of stuff, plenty of it. Have you ever seen a swag store for Joe Biden? Have you ever seen a swag store for any other political figure, really? Maybe Obama a little bit back in the day. I don't remember a Hillary swag store. I can tell you that. I'll bet you that there'll be stuff like this unless they're condemned and not allowed to be, on the area around the inauguration of, God help us, Joe Biden. I mean, people love Donald Trump. So I don't think Donald Trump is going to be hurt too much in the long term, maybe short term, financially. I just don't see it. You tell me where I'm wrong. No president has ever found, back to the article, Billy Bob tells me to get back to the article. If you haven't met my psychic sidekick, this is Billy Bob Bass. He kind of keeps me straight. Yeah, I talk to the fishes. I'm a fish whisperer. I'm the old salty dog. Make fishing great again. I wish I could go this weekend, but there's no trip. Planning to go next weekend. But he has a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. At least for now, we have them. But it says here, no president has ever found himself so roundly shunned and so isolated with potential repercussions for everything from his public legacy to his earnings potential. Well, I would add to, they say, so what do they say here? So roundly shunned. I would say also, how about so greatly loved? I just talked about the swag store. Let me show you a video here and ask you, have you ever, after you see this video, and this was on the campaign trail just the other day, basically. It actually, one of them happened in Georgia after he was supposedly defeated. Oh, by the way, I can't say the word election something or another. We'll just call it election mod. Election mod, and you figure that out. There's election mod going on. Anyway, I guess we got to be code about all of this kind of stuff now. But my thing is election mod. I'm not accusing of anything else, but there have been some mod out there. And anyway, Donald Trump held several rallies leading up to the election and even afterwards, and people chanted something that I don't think any other political figure in the history of the United States, I don't remember it. Show me, I could be wrong, but I've never heard a crowd do this. Check it out.
Especially when you have a crowd like this. But they're like this. They have such spirit in this country. People love our country so much. I went to Texas. I went to Ohio. I went to Florida. It's always like this. They love our country. And we're not going to disappoint anybody. We're not disappointed. For years, you had a president who apologized for America.
Let me ask you again, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever heard a political figure have a crowd? Now, they may shout it out once or twice, but have you ever heard them just spontaneously chant, literally tens of thousands of people chanting, "We love you," to President Trump? And this is the guy that they think they're going to, by impeaching him for a second time, when everybody knows this is total bogus. I started to play this video. You can look it up real easy, from James Clyburn yesterday on the House floor. You know, he's the guy that basically resuscitated, for lack of a better word, old Joe Biden's campaign in South Carolina. But Jimmy Clyburn literally said on the House floor, and maybe we'll play it another day, but he said that we're doing this impeachment because if we don't, and I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but he said if we don't impeach Donald Trump this time, he's liable to be successful again. In other words, they're saying right there, freely admitting they got such Trump derangement syndrome, apparently masks don't stop that they're literally admitting that they're impeaching Donald Trump to prevent him from running office again, because you know who they fear more than Trump? I've been telling you this for a while. It's you, the American people. And now they want to hurt him financially. And what are they doing? They're going to make Donald Trump a martyr and a sympathetic character, for God's sakes. And oh, by the way, let me just tell you something, okay? I gave McConnell a hard time yesterday, and I think rightfully so. And I've never been a fan of Mitch McConnell. I don't believe he's ever really been a MAGA guy. I still don't. I think he is a old school country club Republican, Chamber of Commerce Republican. He is an establishment swamp rat. I don't see how you can. If you want to tell me where I'm wrong, let me know. But Mitch McConnell now, and I give him some credit for this, has come out and said, because, you know, he's still the majority leader until they reconvene the Congress, the Senate. The Senate is on recess, official recess. And he's the only one that really has power. Now, he'd have to get support from others, but basically without his support, it cannot reconvene. And he said he's not going to reconvene it until they're scheduled to reconvene, which I think is a day before Biden, God help us, becomes the next president of the United States. So there's not going to be enough time, I wouldn't think, to actually get Donald Trump out of office before he actually leaves office and becomes a private citizen. This is very important because there is a clause, a section in the Constitution that deals with this. It's basically called the Attainment Clause. And it goes back to English Parliament. Because in England, before the United States was essentially founded, people, regular citizens, private citizens, were often charged, prosecuted for crimes by Parliament itself. outside of the court system. And England has a long history of court system, but they would actually prosecute people in Parliament without them being able to put evidence or anything. Now, I don't know what would end up happening to them, but outside the court system. Our founding fathers, and we can still say the word fathers here at JMT, our founding fathers knew all about this. And they actually put a clause in the Constitution, I think it's called the Attainment Clause, something like that. And it essentially prevents Congress from trying citizens. They can hold a trial. Impeachment is for not only the president, but it is for elected and appointed officials of the federal government. They can be impeached. But private citizens cannot be tried by Congress. Now, they could be brought up for charges under a special prosecution and all of that, but then they would have their day in court. So there's a big constitutional question of whether or not Donald Trump, private citizen Donald Trump, could even go through a trial in the U.S. Senate because it violates the Attainment Clause. Anyway, check it out. The social media platforms that were crucial to his political rise and consolidation of his core support have banned him for varying periods of time. Of course, Twitter has banned him for life. YouTube on Wednesday barred Trump for at least a week following the steps of bans by Facebook and Twitter. So, have you heard of the words antitrust? Antitrust. Think about this. It's pretty obvious now that of the big tech companies, and that's why we're telling you, if you want a guarantee to watch our show, go to www.johnmartintalks.tv. You need to do that because I don't control all this. And I'm going to keep speaking my mind as long as I possibly can, and I'm not going to abandon the public square. But I'm powerless over Facebook and Twitter and really any of these platforms for that matter, YouTube as well. So I'm going to keep on it as long as I possibly can. And I might say, election mod, because we're trying to be seriously entertaining. Sometimes it's hard to actually be funny with all the craziness that's going on, but we're determined to be seriously entertaining as well. But antitrust, think about this. And I'm sure I'll leave somebody out, but it appears that Amazon, Apple, Twitter, Google, YouTube, which is owned by Google, and Facebook are all getting together to ban certain people. They definitely went together to stop Parler, for instance, right? Several of them came together in order to stop Parler from even being where you could even get to them. So if they can do that to Parler, obviously they can do it to anybody, including me and Billy Bob. But aren't they basically what the Democrats like to say, unindicted co-conspirators? Really? I mean, think about it. And like I say, keep in mind, www.johnmartintalks.tv. Twitter, and tell your friends, please. Twitter's permanent ban silenced Trump's voice on the platform that has been his primary means of communicating with his followers and the world, which is the main reason they did it. But think about this. I was thinking about, where have we seen this before? Where all these groups come together and one person like Ramsey for Twitter or Mr. Zuckerberg all do deference to algorithm. I'm not trying to, I love you guys. Algorithm, the most powerful person on the planet. But where have we seen this before? And I thought about, I'm a big James Bond fan. Remember that movie? I think it might have been Pierce Brosnan's last one, but it was one of the last ones. The World Is Not Enough. It's a pretty good movie. But in that movie, there's this dude, the villain. So spoiler alert, I'll give you a second to turn it off, turn down the sound. Spoiler alert, the villain in this particular Bond movie is a guy that basically has his hand on everything communication-wise in the world. He is controlling the worldwide messages everywhere. And that's basically his superpower, if you will, is that he controls the media of the world. And that is, are we not moving to that? I guess, they just don't make English spies like they used to. And I haven't mentioned it, but man, God bless Sean Connery. I know he died late last year, this past year. And I've always been a big fan of Sean Connery. Still, to me, when I think of James Bond, I think of Sean Connery myself. But English spies just aren't what they used to be. What's the last time we heard about an English spy? The guy that with the PP dossier, the Steele dossier, right? That guy's a British spy. The PP dossier. And of course, we got this dude right here. We now have Eric Swalwell. I don't know. Did you hear? Of course, they impeached President Trump. Nancy Pelosi has already configured her prosecutors, if you will, from the House. And one of them is Eric Swalwell. I mean, this guy, Eric Swalwell, he's on the House Intelligence Committee. He has been penetrated by the Chinese, depending on how you want to look at it. His girlfriend that he basically has admitted, everyone knows he had sex with her, that gal right there, is a Chinese spy. And by the way, I guess Chinese spies and Democrats go together, because remember, there was a guy that drove old Dianne Feinstein around for 20 years, and finally they had to say, the FBI finally had to say, this dude's a Chinese spy, right? But I guess they go together. So now the impeachment prosecutor, President Xi, I hope I'm saying his name right, of China, old Corona Xi, he apparently has a guy. I mean, I hate to laugh about it because it's so serious, but apparently one of the people that is going to prosecute the case for impeaching Donald Trump is actually tied to the Chinese communists. I mean, it's like a bad Bond movie, isn't it? But it's real. It's crazy, man. The professional arm of the sport, that is the president's favored pastime, we talked a little bit about this the other day, pulled the prestigious PGA championship from Trump-owned course in Bedminster, New Jersey. Also, over in Scotland, they have taken away or said that they will not hold a British Open championship at Donald Trump's famous golf course. It's an ancient one in Scotland where it's been held before. They're holding back for a while. But so they're in New Jersey, they're not going to hold the 2022 tournament. There would be this is what the PGA come out and said. Holding the tournament there would be detrimental to the PGA brand, the group said. Well, I guess that's just, doing me a favor. One more thing I don't have to watch. Because I don't watch a lot of golf, but I do watch the major championships. So there's one more thing I won't have to watch, man. And here's the thing that gets me, too. I don't know if you saw this, but Bill Belichick, a New England Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick, in the past a Trump booster, and I don't know that he's not now, declined to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom from the president. He cited the tragic events of last week, and they were tragic. But what has that got to do with the Presidential Medal of Freedom? Now, what my sources that I've investigated say that Belichick was poised to accept the trophy, but he got hammered so much behind the scenes by the woke cancel culture that he decided not to do that. So, but what does this have to do with anything? I want to show you a picture here. This is actually from Portland, Oregon. This is Antifa. This is not a Photoshop picture. This is Antifa in Portland, Oregon, right? Now, I think they might be ready for some violence out there. And they're still, by the way, attacking Portland pretty much on a daily basis, but no one says that. I wonder how many golfers are in that. Now, we know there might be some baseball players in that crowd because we see them swinging bats and everything else. But how many of these folks are golfers and how many of them go to football games? I'm just wondering, do people like the NFL and the PGA realize that they are actually cutting a large portion of their customer base out for this? And do you really believe that impeaching Donald Trump on literally less than a week, and he has left in his presidency, and if they have a trial, as I say, it's going to violate the Constitution, do they really think that that is going to estrange Donald Trump from 75 million people that voted for him? Remember this, I got to say this, this is not about election mod. This is about reality. Donald Trump, love him, hate him, or whatever, and no one is really disputing this, got more votes, 75 million people, than any sitting president in the history of this nation. And you think impeaching him on bogus BS charges for the second time and possibly having a trial that is unconstitutional against him is going to drive a wedge between him and 75 million potential not only voters, but customers? Really? The New York, and that doesn't even mention the millions of Americans that don't give a hoot about politics one way or another, but would like to play on a nice golf course or stay in a nice hotel. So, there's those people too that never get counted. The New York Times reported that Deutsche Bank, is it Deutsche or Douche? I guess it's Deutsche Bank. Trump's primary lender for 2 decades was no longer interested in doing business with him. As I say, Donald Trump got 75 million votes. Did you hear that? 75 million. I don't think banking is going to be an issue for Donald Trump. I just don't. Maybe I'm wrong. The lawyers who helped lead Trump's defense at his first impeachment trial aren't expected to be in the Senate chamber this time. Trump's defense may be led by 2 controversial figures. Anybody that supports Donald Trump or even says a nice thing about him is controversial. Former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani and former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz. Well, Giuliani, man, he is a character. There's no question about it. And, you may love him, hate him, whether or not he was a dadgum good prosecutor. We know that. Ask the Teflon Don. But if Alan Dershowitz is representing you on a constitutional issue, could you possibly have a better lawyer on a constitutional issue than Alan Dershowitz? And then will there even be a trial? As I say, if it's after he leaves office, it's by its very nature unconstitutional. That don't mean they won't try it. But think about this. Do they really want a trial? I know that Pelosi and her bunch just wants to punish Trump. And of course, there's no question that the Never Trumpers, which I would throw Mitch McConnell in that. I have no shame whatever saying that he's a swamp rat. He was before Donald Trump even came on the political scene. He just has been. Do you really, and I understand that Mitch McConnell would love to separate the Republican Party from Donald Trump and still somehow remain in power. I don't see that happening, by the way. But do you really think that they want a trial? Are they that? I mean, I was listening to Tucker Carlson. Got to give the man some credit. Tucker Carlson is one of the few shows I still watch on Fox. I don't know, Fox News, man, they have really gone to the store. You need to watch America's Voice News. You need to watch shows like John Martin Talks. You need to support those of us in the fight. I said this the other day, but if I say it, it bears repeating. You're going to have to be more engaged in this current climate to stay in tune with shows like ours and others, that are on the right side of the spectrum, so to speak, because they're keep in mind, we're up against it. We are definitely up against it. So you're going to have to be a little bit more active in searching out programs like us. When you find us, like I say, John Martin Talks YouTube, johnmartintalks.tv, www.johnmartintalks.tv, America's Voice News, we're on there. Recoil, we're going to Recoil TV on YouTube. Check that out. We're going to keep pushing, but it is going to require you an active citizenry, which has always been at the paramount of doing what Benjamin Franklin said, a republic, if you can keep it, has always been dependent on an active, educated, motivated, activated citizenry. So we're going to need you to do that. You're going to have to search us out, stay with us, and share it when you find it with other people. Support those of us in the fight. Check out our sponsors like Big Daddy Unlimited, patriotthreads.org. Check it out. But will there even be a trial? Are they, as I was going to say about Tucker Carlson, he talked about it last night. Are they really, and he was mainly talking about the Republicans, but also Democrats, are they really that stupid? His conclusion was, yes, they are just that stupid. I mean, dumb and dumber. Pelosi and now her buddy, Mitch McConnell. Yeah, because they actually believe that they can drive a wedge between the 74 million people that voted for Donald Trump by impeaching him on bogus charges. I mean, it's just crazy, but that's what they're going to do. I think it's going to backfire in a big way. The city where Trump was born, talking about the Big Apple, was born and where he has plastered his name in gold on Fifth Avenue. That's one thing about Trump. I've said this many times. There's no secret like the Moscow Project, if Donald Trump wants to be somewhere, you don't have to worry. I wonder if Donald Trump owns any property around here. You don't even have to worry, because if he owns property, it's going to say Trump. I mean, so love him, hate him, whatever, man. He doesn't keep a whole lot secret about his properties. But the city where Trump was born and where he has plastered his name in gold on Fifth Avenue Tower has decided to terminate its contracts with Trump Organization to operate 2 ice skating rinks, which, by the way, he turned them into profitability when they were a drain on the city, and city-owned golf course in the Bronx. So I guess de Blasio is going to manage them now. The course will presumably no longer be known as the Trump Golf Links at Ferry Point. So New York City, Bill de Blasio. Listen to what he said. Now, this guy is somebody you definitely want running your city and your property. I wouldn't even hire this dude to run a McDonald's franchise, man, because that's way above his capability. But New York City Mayor de Blasio, a Democrat, no joke, this is what he said in a statement, because he don't want to take any questions right now. The president incited a rebellion against the United States government that killed 5 people, God help the rest of their souls, and threatened to derail the constitutional transfer of power. The city of New York will not be associated with those unforgivable acts in any shape, way, or form, and we will immediately take steps to terminate all Trump Organization contracts. Well, let me tell you, New Yorkers, and you notice we got quite a few people who listen in New York and from the city. One in particular, hey, Chyla, how are you? She's a regular listener. But New York City has some problems, man. But I can tell you one that is not their problem, and that's DJT. Donald Trump is not one of your problems, man. He just is not. All right, we only got a few minutes left. I was going to play this video, but we don't have really time for it, of old Donnie Dortch telling you that 50 million of us just suck, man, America. Check it out. But did you hear Biden's theme for the inauguration? Biden's theme now for the inauguration is America United. Really. America United. So how does impeaching one of the most popular presidents, more votes, as I tell you, forget whether we had election fraud or not, the reality is that we had more votes for Donald Trump than any sitting president in history. Apparently it wasn't enough to overcome Maud, but he did get it nonetheless. But now, impeaching him on a second time for really even the most bogus charges possible is somehow going to drive a wedge between Trump and his supporters and unite America. That's my point. So by impeaching 45 for a second time, we're now united, man. Don't you feel good about it? If you're a Trump supporter, if you're still brave enough to wear a MAGA hat, maybe get a free meal like my friend did, are you really like now going, God, I feel so united? I mean, I've been just worried about all of this stuff, and now that the Democrats have finally done the right thing and 10 Republicans have joined with them, and who knows what will happen in the Senate, that now that they've put Donald Trump in his place, which is, get him out of here, that I just feel at peace, man. I've accepted everything. I am in harmony. Oh, BS, man. I mean, wow. I mean, what they expect. All right, we only got a couple of minutes left. I got to get into this next story very quickly. It's a Newsweek story. Pelosi says 5,000 will be deducted from salaries of lawmakers who bypass metal detectors. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, I call her the hammer of God, man. Look at her up there. Announced Wednesday that House members who ignore new security procedures, including refusing to walk through metal detectors, not the general public, but elected members of the House of Representatives, will soon be subject to $5,000 of fine. Apparently, you get $5,000 the first time you refuse and $10,000 the second. Let me just cut to the chase on this. This is not about the safety of the Capitol. Do you really believe that we're going to have an armed insurrection by members that were elected? They don't have the cojones for that. I'm not advocating for that. I'm just telling you it ain't going to happen. This is pure and simple about your Second Amendment rights. The only reason she's doing this is because there have been several Congress people, especially a new elected one from Colorado. I can't remember her name at the moment, but they've come out and said, look, I'm going to be armed. I'm going to be armed. I was going to play this video of his name escapes me right now. But anyway, the other senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul. You know, Rand Paul was attacked outside the White House, him and his wife. And if it hadn't been for the intervention of D.C. police, they probably would have been beaten to death. This is a guy who's been attacked, even in his own yard. He got attacked by a neighbor, and they punctured his lung. So members of Congress might need to actually defend themselves. But this is about curtailing Second Amendment rights and making a big deal about it. But they talk about it's because of insurrection. I want to post a picture because I think this is a very important picture. This is a picture of Washington, D.C. at night. Can we put that one up with the fires? Hopefully we can get to it. There you go. That is a picture of Washington, D.C. Look at the fires around the city. This is not January 6th. This is back during the response, the mostly peaceful protest about George Floyd. And Nancy Pelosi and her bunch didn't seem to have a problem with that at all. So we're going to conclude by just showing you that. When you got, and I'm not absolving the people that attacked the Capitol in any way, shape, or form. But a little context, as Matt Gaetz, you want to hear a great speech, go and listen to Matt Gaetz' comments on the House floor yesterday. You can easily find them out. All right, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go to www.johnmartintalks.tv. Put that kind of in your mindset, because that's one place you're guaranteed to be able to watch the show. We're going to keep fighting. Support those of us in the fight and our sponsors, as I said before. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for the president and this nation, because I think they both deserve that. But keep in mind, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.